Hello, you are live. Hi everyone. I don't even know. Sometimes it tells me how many people are here waiting. Today it doesn't, so I don't know. Say hello.
Oh, really? I'm not seeing any comments yet. Maybe people
Yeah,
will.
it's okay.
Did no one read Pony?
Nobody read. There's
Nobody's
34.
here to
Oh,
talk
there's
about it.
34 people. They're here. They're here. You're here. Welcome. Amanda will be here. She's dealing with kid stuff for a little bit. So we're just gonna get started because I don't like to be late. There they are. Katie, Nicole,
Oh, here we
Sarah,
go.
hello. I'm glad you're here. And Lindsay.
I know Molly, so I know people read it because I know Molly messaged me after I put on Instagram or like the reminder on Instagram. She was like, "No, I'm not gonna be there.
Oh.
The one time I have something. The one time I have plans."
Oh,
And I'm
bummer.
like, well, we always meet on Wednesdays, so
It's true. We're not sneaky about it. It's every Wednesday of middle grade March. This year we did 5 of them. This is the 5th one.
I can't believe are there always 5? There aren't always 5.
No.
No.
Just the way the cookie crumbled this year. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm glad you're all here. Tomorrow is the end of middle grade March.
The last middle grade March. Not the last middle grade March. The last
day.
The last day of this year's middle grade March.
The last day of the month is tomorrow. So what is everybody? I mean, we'll get to talking about Pony in a little bit. We're just going to wait for Amanda. But are you done with middle grade? Have you wrapped it up already? Or do you have one book or 2 books that you're just trying to squeeze in right at the end of the month?
I'm curious about that. How about you? Why don't you answer first, Krista?
I will answer first. I'm squeezing in 2.
You're squeezing in 2.
Well, I'm nearly done. This is technically, I would call this YA. It did win a Newbery Honor, but Newbery Honor goes up to 14.
Yeah.
And I would call this young YA.
Yeah.
I think she's in 9th grade, or I'm pretty sure she's in 9th grade.
Yeah.
So it's young YA. And I only have like this much left.
Yeah.
I will probably finish this tonight. I'm listening to it on audio.
Yeah.
Oh, she's here. And then if I can squeeze in the lost language tomorrow on audio, it's only a couple hours. So yeah. I should be able to squeeze that in. So I'm actually squeezing in 2 before the end of the month.
I am gonna finish up, hopefully tomorrow I'll finish up the book about the Thai soccer team. Why can't I remember the name of it right now?
All 13.
All 13. Yeah. We'll see. I might not finish it in time.
That's a good one to finish.
Classic.
I'll finish Nancy, like Nancy Drew. Nancy. Sarah wrapped up yesterday. Lindsay has 1 book she's not going to finish. The question, Amanda, was, are you wrapped up with middle grade, or do you have 1 or 2 that you're trying to squeeze in right at the end of the month?
I have 3 that I'm in the middle of that I plan on finishing and not just like setting aside.
Yeah.
Will I finish them between today and tomorrow? Probably not.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Oh, so good.
I got part of the way into the audiobook of The Benefits of Being an Octopus today, which I'm loving. I might be able to finish that. Crest Watercress, I'm not quite done with yet. That's just my own laziness. And then I have an ebook that I'm really close to being able to finish. Just Right, Jillian.
Yeah.
What did someone else? Oh, someone else. Amy said are you reading that with Amy? Amanda?
No. Just Right, Jillian?
Yeah, because she said she's trying to finish it up too.
Yeah, no, I had it on NetGalley, and I needed a new ebook, and that's kind of where I go. And I was like, I'll read a middle grade one. And that seemed like a good fit. And it's really cute. I really, really, really like it.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Middle grade reading doesn't end just
because it doesn't end in March.
Because March is ending. I might take a break from it for a little while, to be honest.
I definitely can feel the burnout. Like,
yeah,
because I have just been pushing through
How many? Do you have a total?
I can tell you. I have my phone.
I always get to the end of the month, and like I never get sick of middle grade, But usually my reading has more variety. So when I focus entirely on middle, and like I love it, it's the perfect amount of time. But I get to the end of March and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to, add a little bit more adult fiction. Yeah.
Yeah. I have already been reading adult fiction. So last week I read Finley Donovan is the second one, Knocks 'Em Dead.
Knocks 'Em Dead, yeah.
And then last night I finished Annette Galley, one of my anticipated reads, Sense and Second Degree Murder, which was really cute. And I started another one of my Annette Galley anticipated reads today that's not a middle grade. So I am already like changing gears, even though I have two. I would not try to finish by tomorrow. Yeah.
I have 24 finished.
Yeah. I think my number is 27.
That's awesome.
So which ones are you trying to finish, Krista? Sorry, not to be like...
Piecing Me Together, which is technically, I would say YA. But I'm still almost done. And then The Lost Language.
That one you'll be able to fly through the audiobook.
Yeah.
So quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can definitely, like, I was putting together my April TBR and I'm like, all right, I'm ready for something that's not middle grade now.
I binged season 2 of Bridgerton. And so Sense and Second Degree Murder fit the vibe because it's kind of like olden time, like Sense and Sensibility, right? And then the other one that I started that is an anticipated reads is called Games in a Ballroom. And it's Regency era romance where this woman is expected to marry a titled man, but her longtime friend from growing up is he's wealthy, but he's not he doesn't have a title. So this younger group of friends decides they're going to start playing tag at events like dinner parties and balls and different things like that. So I'm at the very beginning of it, but it's filling my, I just watched Bridgerton and now I want more
Regency type stuff.
Romantic kind of feel, but not a historical romance. This last year when I watched season 1 of Bridgerton, I began the Bridgerton series and read all 8 of them by the end of summer. So,
oh my gosh, Krista, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, she flew through. She was like boom, 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 like 3 a week.
One right after. I couldn't get enough, and so I just now I watched season 2, and now I'm kind of like, okay, I'm gonna need more of this in my life right now. So, Games in a Ballroom it is, and it's Annette Galley. So get that knocked off.
You'll have to let me know how it is because that one, when I watched your anticipated releases video, that one I was like, ooh, interesting.
It's cute so far. Yeah, so far it's super cute. But yeah,
I know I have a bunch of like contemporary romance, just like not easy but easy reads, like mindless reads that I really want to like start reading. Like that's what I'm in the mood for. I'm like, I want.
And I will be reading Eighth Life.
Eighth Life. Total opposite.
Total opposite. Not breezy. It's like a 900-page
huge. It's so huge.
Tome about Georgia.
Nice. That's crazy.
Not Georgia the state.
Georgia the country.
Georgia the country.
Amazing.
And I think I'm going to love it, but I'm worried. Will I finish it? Because I finished. Well, if I finish all 13,
you read Anna Karenina, right? That one's really long, isn't it?
I have read Anna Karenina, and that's a like 900-page classic, which is that's like even different.
That one, and it's Russian,
and
so that Russian. I feel like is a big undertaking,
and it's boring.
Yeah.
You read it too, Chris. I remember you're like, I'm just listening to it to say I've got it done at this point. You're like, I'm over it.
Well, the whole thing is like about an affair. I'm like, ugh. I couldn't stand Anna Karenina. I hated it.
Oh, did you? I didn't hate
it. Oh, like, I hated it.
I mean, it is about oh my gosh, that's a tongue twister. It is about an affair, but it's a cautionary tale about an affair. Like it's not like pro affair.
Some of the people were pro affair in the book.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's a cautionary tale.
I know. I just didn't like it.
Yeah. Well, I understand.
I read Les Mis. That's my dip my toe into the long books, and I've read Pillars of the Earth.
I've done Pillars, and I've also done
Les Mis.
Les Mis, which Les Mis was great. except for if I were to ever read it again, and I know that this is bookish sacrilege,
Read the abridged.
I would read the abridged version.
Yeah.
I did skip Waterloo.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I was this close to DNFing it so many times. And I'm like, if I would have made myself push through that, I would have DNF'd it. So I just skipped it.
Yeah. Okay, but I need to know also, Chelsea, do you want to read Eighth Life with me?
I need the accountability.
Oh man.
I did finish Anna Karenina because it was kind of like a goal. Like, I'm just gonna do it.
I just wanted to finish it to say I finished it.
I listened to it on audio, and I was nannying a little girl at the time, and I just took her for a walk every day, and I just listened while she was a baby, so I didn't have to talk with her on our walk, except like, oh, look at that. Do you hear the birds? Like, every once in a while, right? She was in a stroller. So yeah, I just got a lot listening during walk time. But anyways, that's what we're finishing up with, and that's what we are going to be moving into in April. But that's
okay. A couple people are talking about Eighth Life, and I want to say, if you want to read Eighth Life with me, you just let me know. Send me a message on Instagram, and I'll set up a Voxer for us. I've already laid out all of the sections so that we can get it done in a reasonable amount of time. I've got it all worked out. So just
I love it. Join Katie in the massive book reading.
I did want to. Can we talk about our donations?
Oh yes. Before we get into the book.
Before we get into the book, guys, we were able. Oh crap! I just clicked on the wrong thing. Hold on. I'm gonna use a calculator so I don't say this wrong because otherwise.
Well, and technically, there's 24 hours. I mean, technically it's till tomorrow, but as of right now.
As of right now, we will be donating $463 to firstbook.org.
That's amazing.
So
I
love that.
Really awesome.
I'm really proud of us.
That's amazing.
I'm very excited.
That's very cool. So thank you to all of you who purchased bookish merch from Bonfire for middle grade March.
And we have gotten some feedback about different things and continue with that feedback because that helps us be able to plan for next year and, revamp some things, change things around. Or message either the middle grade March Instagram account or shoot any of the three of us an email. That's the easiest way. If you have comments about any of the merch, just go about that way.
We'll do it again next year.
Yeah.
And we'll probably switch things up.
So it'll be a little bit different next year. So
cool. So tonight there is a middle grade March Insta.
There is.
We started a middle grade March.
Middle grade March.
Yep, just at middle grade March. Yep.
And I don't think it'll go totally silent throughout the year. Like, we can still add.
We'll pop in every once in a while.
Yeah.
There probably won't be a lot of activity on it throughout the year, but it won't go dead.
I think none of us are like everydayers on Instagram, so we're not going to be everydayers on middle grade.
I'm really good at consuming Instagram and not great at producing content on Instagram.
But today we are here to talk about ponies. Yay!
I love the feel of this cover. I just have a very touch
it. I like it.
Yeah, we have a lot. There's so much to talk about tonight, guys. So we're just going to kind of dive in, and we don't want to be here for 2 hours. So we're going to kind of keep it moving, but we do have some things to talk about, some questions to think about. What did you think about this? What did you think about that? Yada, yada, yada. Did you hug the book when you were done? Katie, that's a question for you.
I did.
I
cried a lot, and I messaged Krista and Amanda immediately after with very teary eyes and continued to cry a little bit. And Mary,
here's the question: has your book been water damaged?
No. But it was close. It was close.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So let's just start. One of the biggest things, I think, is how genre busting this is. So if you guys had to, like, 3-word or 5-word, like, this book is blah blah blah, like, how would you quickly describe the genre of this?
Yeah, that's a good question. What would you say the genre is?
That's what I would say.
What?
Historical paranormal, middle grade.
Historical, paranormal, coming of age, mystery. No, I'm just kidding. There's so many.
There's so much.
I would say historical.
Sorry, I definitely got Sixth Sense vibes from this.
Oh, me too. I was going to say that.
I'm like,
such Sixth Sense vibes.
Like, I see dead people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say
in the woods. Oh,
that was the creepiest part.
All right, we'll get there. Hold on.
Pull it back, Amanda. I would say historical. Okay, wait. Historical paranormal Western.
Yes, Western
is what I would say. Middle grade, coming of age,
adventure,
road trip.
I love it. Yeah, it's so cool. I love, I was looking today at an interview. I don't know, I was just like Googling different things with RJ Palacio, and they talked about the genre. Like, did she at one point or another try to fit it into?
I bet she didn't. I bet she's like, I'm just going to write what I'm going to write, and the rest of you are my...
That's exactly what she said. She's like, I just had a story to tell, and I just was going to tell it, and it was going to cross borders. Like,
and she knew she was going to sell the books because Wonder was such a hit.
Like, I know. See, that's the thing.
Like, she had the freedom to be able to write whatever she wanted and didn't have to worry about pleasing the publishers. She could just
this was her first book, she never would have gotten it published unless she came to Owl's Nest, because this is our thing. Like, we don't mind genre bending.
Yeah.
But we want it. That's what, like, we.
But it is very hard to market.
Yeah.
Like,
it is.
This is a hard book to market, and I really honestly feel that if this would have been her first book, I don't know as though she would have gotten it published. But because she had such huge success with that first book, she could pretty much do whatever she wanted.
Yeah,
and a publisher would publish it for a lot of money.
Interesting point. She would say Western, not historical, and you think that's different. I think I can agree with you on that, because a Western automatically puts it in that time period. I would say.
Period. Isn't Western like a
historical, like a
genre of historical though?
Kind of. So you don't need both.
The only reason I would say historical is because there are specific dates, like in the news article aspects and things like that. Like, it's set not current day. It's set in the past. That's the only reason why I would say historical.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I say it's historical fiction because anything not set today is historical fiction in my head. Like, that's just how I...
Paranormal Western middle grade,
Yeah, historical fiction, I think, like, the definition is elements of the book are indicative of a specific time. So, like, Little House on the Prairie would not be historical fiction because when it was written, it wasn't historical.
But it was.
Well,
she wrote it in like the 40s or 50s, and it was about the turn of the century.
You know what I mean? Or like Betsy Tacy. Okay, so like Betsy Tacy wouldn't be historical because it wasn't. I don't know. Does that make sense?
I would say more like Anne of Green Gables isn't historical fiction because it was written in 1908 about sort of like around
or like any of the Jane Austen stuff, like classics like that aren't historical because they were written in that time. So I don't know. I think I would consider this historical, but it's not.
Does Ohio count as Western? I think so. It's like leading up to the Civil War.
So in the book, I don't know if you noticed this, but Midwest, it's considered the Middle West. But like, if you read, like, okay, if you think about like once again, Little House on the Prairie, the first book is in Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. I live in Wisconsin. I don't consider Wisconsin the West. But at the time, it was that Western push, right? Which I think is sort of what you get in this book also. And in some ways, it doesn't even matter. I mean, I feel like it could be set in, if it had the same tone and it was set on the East Coast, it wouldn't even really matter. Like, it felt like a Western.
Yeah, I was going to say, it felt Western-ish, I never considered it Western because at that time period, everybody rode horses. And all the sheriffs and stuff were run that way. It wasn't just out west that you had like the marshal and the sheriff and, bad guys, cops and robbers sort of thing.
It felt like a typical.
It felt like a typical Western, but I didn't connect it with like
the shootout. I don't know, like it just.
I mean, yes, there's like aspects of it that have like a Western like piece, like okay. So one of my favorite novels too. I feel like maybe I have a penchant for Westerns, and I just haven't explored it very much. Because one of my other favorite novels is Peace Like a River, which is also not a Western, but has a Western feel to it. Like it feels like a Western because they're like someone's on the run. There's like outlaws.
Counterfeiting even feels like a Western type.
Yes, exactly. There's like outlaws and like people going in search of the outlaws and the horseback, and even a little bit in this book, like a touch of the indigenous people as well. Like that wasn't really explored a lot, except for when he's in the marshlands and sees all of these hosts. The bog. And the book cover looks really Western.
This is true. I love that. What the author said about the historical factor in the author's note. It was not a roadmap through history, more like a river kind of running through it.
Yeah.
Yes, and I know in the author's note she said it wasn't historical.
Yeah, I feel like I like in reading these comments, I think it's so interesting, like how people sort of define these genres in their head. Like Libby, I really want to know how you distinguish between historical fiction and Western, and why you felt like this was more of a Western than historical fiction. Because in my mind, like there is some overlap, which is why I say it's sort of genre bendy. Like it felt like both felt historical fiction to me and it felt Western to me.
I like Amanda's comment that there's a difference between a Western genre and a Western setting.
Mm-hmm.
Those are different.
I don't think I've read enough Western genre to.
My dad has
talk about
Louis L'Amour for life.
I've heard of Louis L'Amour, never read Louis L'Amour. The actually, and this is another book that I love, and it's and it's for sure a Western. Western is A Lonesome Dove.
I just say Lonesome Dove.
Yep. Loved Lonesome Dove. A tall tale feeling too.
Yeah, I like that, Libby.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely, there's some validity to that.
Yeah. I like that too.
And I think the elements of this that could be historical, like all the photography stuff and how the dad went in a little bit in depth into how you
could tell that the author ran across that and was like, ooh, this is cool. I'm going to include this in a book.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, and I had mentioned this earlier when Katie and Krista and I were all like getting ready for tonight, but I personally felt like there were certain elements of this book that weren't relevant to the story. Like there were certain things that I'm like, but by the time I got done, I was like, why was that even mentioned? That didn't even that was not relevant. But they were very specific things like the lightning strike, and the tree imprint on his back. I'm like, okay, but that really didn't impact the story at all. But you
did it detract from it for you?
Huh?
Did it? I'm curious.
No, it didn't detract from it. But for me, I was like, so why did he include that? Because it was very specific with the tree on the back and the news article element and all of this. But at the same time, it didn't. I didn't feel like it added to the story at all.
Yeah. Oh, there was something else I was going to ask. No, I don't remember.
I mean, that kind of leads us. You wanted to talk about the pictures.
I did. I really want. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about with everyone, I kind of want to go through the pictures in the book and ask people who they thought the pictures were representing. So I think we should do that. So some of them feel kind of obvious. Like some of them I was like, oh, for sure. That's for sure. Also, I loved and I cried in the author's note at the end. Oh my gosh, I just have to read this part in the author's note. Let me see if I can find it. where she's talking about pictures, and she said,
I agree, Chelsea. I thought it was really cool, but then it wasn't relevant and it wasn't really explored any further. And I really wish that it would have played a bigger part in the book. But Angela, he could see the ghost before the lightning strike happened. So that's why I was like, why is this a thing? Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so this, where she says, she's talking about the pictures in the book, and she says, the daguerreotype at the beginning of this book, for instance, practically sums up this entire novel. A young father, a baby son, no mother in the picture. Some photos can speak 1,000 words, some more than 60,000. And I just thought that was so beautiful. So clearly she came across this picture. And I mean, there's lots where she kind of talks about lots of inspirations for this story, including her, like a dream that her son came up with. But so clearly the very first picture is sort of like a representation of Pa and Silas. And then, here's Silas.
Yeah.
There's Silas.
Stan McCass, I started your comment because we'll get back to structure in a minute. So I just started so I won't lose it in the comments. So then we have the mom, who's like off the page.
Mm-hmm.
She's about the only female till the very end.
I'm trying to like page through this. And
I should have tabbed all the pictures.
I know, I should too. Okay, and then I kind of assumed that this guy was Pa. Is that what you guys thought?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
He looks a little bit like
the guy at the beginning.
He's a handsome man. That guy's a handsome man. He reminds me a little bit of Hugh Jackman.
This one I thought was Mittenwool.
I assumed that too, but that was the first one where I was like, I don't know. Is that Mittenwool?
Oh yeah, Mittenwool.
That's who I thought that was.
Look.
Is this what did you guys think when you saw this picture? Who did you think this was?
Because they said he was like 16, 17.
Yeah. So I also assumed Mittenwool, but I'm curious what other people thought.
And then I've got 5, and I think that's
Marshall
Farmer.
Yep.
I thought so too.
Farmer.
I thought that was Marshall Farmer. Especially because that's how they.
These
that's
dang deckled edges.
What? I know the deckled edge.
Really hard to flip through this book. You guys, this
is the pony.
Yeah,
that's
there's
sick.
Pony.
It's just they're just so cool looking. I just think it's so cool that she included these. This one I think is self-explanatory.
Yeah, that's the
sheriff.
The sheriff and there's the sheriff.
Beauty Man.
And Beauty Man.
Beauty Man. In the audio is Beautyman.
Oh, that makes more sense. I kept reading it as
But they make fun of it in the book. They're like, that's a dumb name.
Beauty Man. It's so funny.
Oh man. These
I
thought were the young guys.
I want to know, like, what is this picture? What is it? Like, what?
2 soldiers.
Like Union soldiers, maybe? From the Civil War?
Yeah. This is the, like, young guys that they hog-tied.
Yeah, that's what I assumed.
The brothers that got themselves in over their heads, and then they're like, we're sorry! Like, I just saw them, like, sitting there in their underwear, like, the fools. Oh, man.
Well, then we get into a couple that I think are I have them all
Bad guys.
Yes, because here's where I don't know. Like, who is this guy? Who did people think this guy was? This is where I started to be like, I don't know who is that?
Well, I think these 2, 9 and 10, they could just be like part of the counterfeit.
The gangs, part of the gang.
Olerin.
I thought maybe this was Olerin Shaw.
Yeah, and so this one was probably Roof.
Okay.
Talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then 11, I think, is Silas
grown up.
Oh, you thought this was Silas grown up? Oh,
Who did you
that
think it
makes sense. And this one, I was like, I have no idea who this is supposed to be. Silas grown up. Okay.
That's the end, right? That's the last one.
Yeah.
Well, except for the moon, which I thought was.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think the pictures added a lot. I love it. And I love to learn that she just collected them. Like, these are just ones that she had, I think, because she collected.
No, I love that. But she used them to describe the characters. Like Marshall Farmer had the beard, and he talks about how his dad's eyes were like piercing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked the quotes that were next to each picture too.
I did too. Some of them I even marked because I thought, oh, that's another thing. If I forget to ask, I want to hear some of people's favorite quotes from the book.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so the tree imprint led his dad into the technology of processing.
Yeah, no, I know that, but even the photography was, I mean, like, other than, I feel like the scene or series of scenes, whatever, where they were trying to develop the telescope to take the picture of the moon, like, that was super important as far as character development. But outside of that, the photography wasn't a huge, like, he could have been a calligrapher or whatever. Like, he didn't
except,
but I think
it had to do with why he was so good at counterfeiting.
Yeah.
Well, no, because he was a counterfeiter before he was a photographer.
Yes, but he became a good photographer because of his history with counterfeiting.
I know, but they were saying that the lightning strike is what caused him to become interested in photography. Which, yeah, but him being a photographer was not super relevant to the storyline, because we find out.
I think I disagree with that. I think that part of what made him a good photographer, I think that it was, I mean, his interest in photography might have been instigated by.
No, I know, but him being a photographer was not relevant to the story. He could have been, because like when him and Silas's mom met, he was a calligrapher, right? So he did like the wedding invitations and things like that, which they could have found him that way too, as far as like, whatever, because he wasn't a counterfeiter anymore at that point.
Well, I know,
right? He got out of it.
But I think you missed what I'm trying to say. I think that, I mean, he was a counterfeiter.
Yeah.
And then he became a calligrapher, and then his son, but he was clearly a man of many interests and sort of a chemist, right? Like he was very science minded, and photography, like even just like reading about some of that photography, like it went over my head. And so I think that the chemistry of photography at the time is also what made him a good counterfeiter. Because interestingly, it's so funny because I just finished watching the show Reacher. And in the show Reacher, if anyone has watched Reacher, there's like a counterfeiting ring that's part of the first season of Reacher. And they talk about how like counterfeiting, you've got it. And they talk about it in this book too. I thought that was just such a weird connection. But like you like strip because the paper that we like paper money that we use is so specific and you can't really recreate it. So the way that they have to counterfeit to make it seem real is by like stripping the paper. So it's very like, to me, I was like, oh, well, that's what like the photography is such a, because you have, it's such a similar process. You've got to like wash it in these chemicals. So like, I don't know. I think him being a photographer was sort of important to the story, also because he keeps talking about the daguerreotypes, and we've got the daguerreotypes.
Yeah, no, I definitely thought that was really cool. Like in the daguerreotypes, like being part of the story, and the RJ Palacio using the daguerreotypes as inspiration for the characters, like real ones as inspiration for the characters. Yeah. No.
Yes. And the new photo development, the counterfeit so much better. Because remember at the end of the book, they talk about how the money that they found in the cave was so realistic. Mm-hmm. And I think that was because he was a photographer.
And I think this is also true.
Yeah.
Yes. That scene, La Rosa brought it up a couple times. That scene was the first time that I welled up with tears, like with the moon, when they were building the telescope and they captured this amazing photo of the moon on this glass thing, and he held it for 2 seconds and it broke, which is so like a kid. But the way that the dad responded during that whole scene between father and son, I agree. It was just so beautifully written.
Oh, it was so beautiful.
It was so beautifully written.
The whole thing.
Yeah, so there were just moments of like the words were just so arresting. Like it was just so beautifully written. And I'm just sucker.
Your friendship with Mittenwool is wondrous, but there are people who won't understand it because they can't see that kind of wonder.
I know, I picked up on that too. This was a favorite quote of mine. I'm just going to read some of my favorite quotes as other people say them. All I can think is that maybe life knows where it's going before you do sometimes. And somewhere deep inside me, in the rooms of my heart, I knew that I would not be coming home again. And then at the end, he finds home. There's that quote at the end where he's with the sheriff and his wife, and he talks and he says, I wonder, I might not have marked it. I should have, because that ties in really well. I don't think I marked it. I don't think I marked it. Oh yeah, here. Not since the moment those riders had come out of the night and upended the world I had known. It was a sense that somehow I had come home. Maybe not to the place I'd left, but to the place I was meant to be. Yeah.
Hi, Lupita, if you're still here. She hasn't read it yet, and she doesn't want spoilers.
Marcy, I completely agree with what you said.
See, I just totally disagree with that. I totally disagree with that.
I'm so far behind in comments. Ooh, wild thought to consider. Was Pony Silas's mother?
I thought that at one point too. I was like, wait, is Pony a ghost? But no, because like everybody else can see him too.
Yeah, I don't think I agree with this either. I didn't feel like there was that much.
I agree with it.
That was not. I'm so curious. We'll talk about rating at the end, but Amanda, I'm so curious what you rated this. We haven't talked about that.
I know. Okay, here's another quote. I nodded, for it occurred to me. Okay, so he's talking to Mittenwool, and Mittenwool says, there are so many things I don't know, Silas. And then Silas says, I nodded, for it occurred to me that if life is full of mysteries, death must be too. I really liked that quote.
Oh, this is a good one. Anybody, after having been exposed to light, retains in darkness some impression of the light. Ooh.
Yeah, that's such a good one.
Oh, that's so good. I missed that one. I need to find it and mark it in my book.
That was a really good one. And I loved, he's reflecting on Mittenwool and his dad and realizing that he didn't, like, how lucky he had been. We're like, what chapter? I don't even know where we're at in this one. It's on 186. He's thinking about, thinking about like the other world. And maybe in the end, that was the whole point of it, keeping that other world at bay, preserving the before time for as long as possible. I suppose in a way that's the real world too. The fathers and the mothers and the ghosts, the living and the dead, spinning butterflies out of thin air, holding them gently in their hands for as long as they can, not forever, but infinitely. Beckoning the wondrous, but never for themselves, just for us, if only for a little while. It's not the fantasy of it, but the trying of it that matters. That's the real world too.
Mm.
Like, what does that even mean? That's one of those ones I like marked it because I'm like, that's so beautifully said. It's so beautifully said, but what is she saying? But I love that. I love that.
Oh, Kimberly, that's such a good one too. Even if we can't see it, the sun never stops shining. Always remember that. Oh, I love that. That is really profound.
Oh, and this is true about thinking about the ghosts. Even when they didn't remember their own names, they always remembered who they loved. That I've learned is what we cling to forever. Love. It transcends, it leads, it follows. A journey without end.
Yes.
There's another one up a little further that I really, really liked. Hold on. I gotta find it again. Oh, where did it go? Oh, sheesh. Okay. Let's find it. Nope, that wasn't it. Oh, this is a story about love, which never dies, and the invisible connections that exist between people, both the living and the dead.
Yeah.
Just that.
Page 232, but unkindness is not the same as cruelty. It is perhaps the precursor to it, the first step down a path toward the inevitable end. Oh my gosh, that's so good. I need to mark that. I didn't bring my things.
I see a couple of you guys talking about Pony and the potential of Pony being the mom, and I wanted to just reiterate, like, something that she says in the author's note is that even though most of the characters in this book are men of a certain time and place in American history, in my mind, this is a book that is completely driven by a woman, a mother. She is the central character off the page, connecting and propelling and protecting from afar within the limits of what she can do, which are unknowable. So I'm very curious if you guys agree with that the mother is the driving force and kind of the propelling central character in this novel. Because when I first read that, I was like, was she?
On the surface, you feel like it's his dad that's the driving force. But I think that it's the undercurrents. It's the things that you don't see. So I think that that's right, but I am really curious what people say.
So that's right. They were talking about there being a connection between Pony and the mother, almost like Pony is the reincarnation of the mother, not necessarily the ghost of the mother, but the mother's spirit. And then I like this idea too, that the mother is kind of in Mittenwell, because Mittenwell shows up. Mittenwell shows up as soon as he's born. But the event in which Mittenwell dies happened years before that. So maybe there's that connection because she had tried to save his life unsuccessfully, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe there is that connection between Mittenwell and the mother. I don't know.
What if the mother could see Mittenwell too? And that's why
maybe
Silas then.
Maybe Mittenwell was there before. And we
because I wonder if Silas's mother also had the same gift that Silas did. Yes. I kept thinking that.
And maybe that's why his dad didn't blink about it.
Yeah.
Like, he was just like, okay, Yeah.
Because it was Silas's mom, right? And he says this, Silas says this about his dad at the end of the book. Or maybe it's in the note. And I don't remember where, but he's talking somehow his dad, or maybe it's in the note that his dad writes to his mom. Let me see if I can find it. I could be wrong about this.
Yeah, Pa's life changed because he loved his wife. She definitely leads everything.
Mm-hmm. But like even throughout the book, we get those nods back, like with the violin, and then we get the chapter about him like knowing his mom.
Yeah,
because, like his first moments when he was born, and then we keep getting these nods back to his mom.
So the note that Martin writes to Elsa, and he says to her, and if by chance you decide on a different path, do not worry, my darling, for if I cannot be with you in this world, I will find you in the next. Of that you have convinced me. So it makes me wonder whether she had the same gift as Silas, but she certainly had the ability to convince Silas's dad that there was more mystery to life than what he was willing to concede before.
I just marked. Where did I go? So that could kind of lead us into this one conversation about the title. Why is the book titled Pony, do you think? Pony was great, but really kind of like a side character. I will speak to this because this is one of the things that was in that interview that I read. And she said it was always Pony, even when people hated it. She's like, my kids hated the title Pony. My publishers hated the title Pony, but it had to be Pony. She said partly because of how it graphically looks on the cover. She loves it. How it just the word pony. But she talked about at one point he talks about feeling like Jonah in the whale, and she's like pony was kind of his boat or the vessel that brought Silas
that took him on the journey.
On this whole journey. Pony was such an like essential part of his whole journey from being alone.
Beginning to end.
Yeah, I can get on board with that.
So she's like, he was the vessel that brought him through the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing, even through the end of the book where he,
Absolutely.
everything comes back together and he, yeah.
Yeah. This is why I physically read book club books because I have to mark things. Possibly. Maybe that's why she tried so hard to save Manuel, because she was also seeing the ghosts all around her. Speaking of ghosts, I was not prepared for a creepy scene.
Oh my gosh, that scene was the creepiest in the book.
Yeah. I was not prepared for a creepy scene.
No, I was not either. I was like, oh, hot dang.
That's where it felt really, really Sixth Sense to me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because in the Sixth Sense, he sees all these dead people who want him to either like convey messages or like are like they look really creepy, but they aren't trying to hurt him, and like that's what felt so Sixth Sensey to me.
Yeah, Jen's going kind of back to Pony for a minute here. Pony was
who died.
If Pony never came back, he probably wouldn't have left home. He would not have had the courage to go look for Pa if Pony hadn't showed up. And also about the mother, she was the redemptive part of the story, forgiving Pa because she knew the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then that helped him to change to become such a great father for Silas. Yeah, he was a huge catalyst. I can live with that explanation. Yeah, how different would the story have been if Silas saw his mom's ghost the whole time instead of Mitten Wool? Weird.
I think he would have depended on her a lot more.
Yeah.
He was like, he comes and he goes and he's just this kid and whatever. And I feel like if it would have been his mom, he would have been more reliant on her. Whereas Mitten Wool, he was like, you can either come or go, but I'm going without you, you know? Whereas if his mom was like, don't go into the woods, he'd been like, okay, you know?
That's a good question, Lindsay.
I'm not at Lindsay's question yet.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. But still talking about the mom. She centered so many of the themes and quotes on the story of Telemachus and Odysseus from the Odyssey. But she talked about that in the interview because in this time period, that's the kind of books he would have been reading. That's probably what he had around him, were these kind of classic books. Like, you didn't have very many books, but that's what you had. You didn't have TV, you didn't have other things. And his dad being an erudite, like an intellectual type of person.
I
think
think
he kind of spoke it's like Silas often spoke in a way that doesn't sound necessarily like a 12-year-old kid, right?
I think also to kind of feed off that, in Silas's, so this book was not in terms of narration, it wasn't an omniscient narrator, right? We're hearing it from Silas's perspective. Silas didn't know his mother. The only relationship that he had was his father. But the subtext, that's why it's all subtext. Like the driving force of the mother is subtext. It's not surface. On the surface, for Silas, because we're seeing it from Silas's perspective, but we can also, because we're reading it from the outside, we also can see kind of a bigger picture and read more underneath the subtext. For Silas, it would have been more about his father until maybe he was older at the end, like what we got. But we know that his mother was the driving force behind other things. So anyway. Okay,
good. Here's Lindsay's question. I found it. because this is the other thing that you had mentioned, Katie, wanting to know, like, when did people figure out
that Enoch was a ghost?
Enoch was a ghost. I feel like I was the last.
As soon as he got hurt. As soon as they jumped and he got hurt, I was like, he's ghost.
Did you figure it out when he got hurt or when they came back and he had disappeared?
No, when he got hurt.
Why?
I always had it in the back of my head, like, I don't think he's real. I don't think okay, let me back up. As soon as the bog scene happened and I realized, oh, Mittenwall's not the only one, there's more. All of a sudden, everybody's a ghost, right? Like for me, nobody's reliable at this point. Is Silas a ghost? Like everybody's dead, you know? Yeah. So I always had that inkling, like, I don't know if he's real or not. And then the minute they do the jump and Enoch gets hurt, I was like, no, because he insisted on him going back and getting him. And then when he went back and he's like, I have never heard of this guy before. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I was the last one to the Enoch is a ghost party. I was so proud of myself too. And then I'm reading people's comments and stuff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, he never really ate anything." I'm like, "What?"
Did he drink that like magical juice water stuff?
He ate the first thing because when Silas offered him food first, didn't he eat that first night or not?
I don't remember.
I thought he did. I know he didn't eat the egg, but that's my question. Do you guys think Enoch knew he was a ghost or knew he was dead?
No. I don't think he did.
I don't think he did either because he refused to believe Silas. He wouldn't put up with the idea.
Like, I'm going to go catch these guys and we're going to find your dad. And it wasn't I don't know. I don't think just because of the way he carried himself in his dialogue and he didn't seem like, whereas Mittenwool was like, I come, I go. We all know the trick here, you know, whatever. He was more like at peace with the fact that it is what it is. And I feel like Enoch was like a man on a mission.
I feel like Enoch, because of the way he reacted when Silas said he was talking to Mittenwool, and Enoch was like, I don't want to hear anything about it. Like, Enoch flipped out. So I'm like, maybe he has an inkling that.
That's an interesting thought, Krista.
But didn't want to. Maybe he was in denial. He was absolutely in denial because he thought he's going to go stop these. He's going to go get Olorenshaw. He's going to get him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I figured it out for sure when they came back and he was missing. Well, I figured it out for almost sure when they came back and he was missing. The horse, he and his horse were gone.
That's when I figured it out too.
Mine was as soon as he got hurt, I was like, I am 90%. And then when he went back and they talked to the sheriff and Beautyman or whatever, and they were like, who is what? No, I was like 99.9% sure.
Why do you think that Silas didn't know that Enoch Farmer was a ghost? Because
it wasn't super apparent. I feel like
it's interesting that different ghosts had different, like the bog ghosts were like, ooh, like creepy ghosts, right? Like
and even like Moodyman's whatever, the guy's sister who had
she was bleeding from a chest wound.
Like even
Enoch
that
Farmer wasn't, but if you thought back, he talks about how Enoch looked
like that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, Kim.
Enoch was the Bruce Willis character from Sixth Sense. Yes,
it was.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, Sixth Sense vibes all the way.
This is true though. How does a ghost get hurt? Because Enoch's hands definitely got blown up by Olerensshaw's gun.
Probably not forever though, because he was also more bent when he
already. That's true.
Because when he jumped over the thing, he got more bent. Because Silas talks about how he was bent at an unnatural angle. So I think that it probably doesn't hurt him forever.
And then once that's right, that was his passing on moment.
Yeah.
I bet.
He's like, my mission is complete.
Yep. Yeah.
For real.
Yeah, I don't think he wanted to think he was dead.
Yeah.
Rosa. I mean, Denise. Enoch was jacked up, poor guy.
He was a mess.
He said, at one point he said he didn't remember how long he'd been out there. That's true. When he disappeared off when the sheriff came. Yeah, that's what I thought too. He was always complaining about his back, but I always complain about my back, and I'm not a ghost. I'm always complaining about my back. Yeah, I think Silas didn't really have reason to believe that he wasn't real.
He didn't know any better. It's not like there was somebody else standing there going, "Who are you talking to?"
Yeah.
Right.
Like there was with Mittenwool, and he's like,
Right.
"Wait, you guys all don't see him too?"
Yeah. And to just further along the Sixth Sense, the little boy in Sixth Sense, he didn't really know, right? Or did he know that the Bruce Willis character was a ghost? Did he know that Bruce Willis was a ghost the whole
I
time?
don't think so.
I don't remember. No, the ghost wasn't a horse. Or the ghost wasn't a horse. The horse wasn't a ghost because everyone else could see. Everyone could see Mittenwool or could see Pony.
Maybe Mittenwool knew Enoch was a ghost because he never really liked him. That's true.
He didn't trust him. I don't think he trusted him.
Yeah.
And he was like, "He's gonna get you in trouble. You need to not be talking to him."
Yeah.
So let's talk for a minute about Mittenwool, like how he got his name and his story and his role in the story as a whole.
I loved Mittenwool so much. And I loved his friendship with Silas.
Yeah.
So that's when I started to cry. Everything with Mittenwool is what made me cry. I cried at the same scene you did, where he.
Oh my gosh. I could not handle that scene. It was right after Mittenwool. I was like, go Mittenwool, because he told off Oleran Shaw.
Yes.
He like, I
will haunt you until your dying day.
I loved it so much. And then came and held Silas's pinky finger.
Yes.
And he was
that
like,
got to me so much.
More greatness in your pinky finger. Oh my word. That got to me because it was just what the dad used to say to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it so much.
And then I cried when Silas started getting older and was separating a little bit from Mittenwool. They didn't see each other as that really got to me too, because I really have a hard poor I just my heart was breaking for Mittenwool being left behind by this person who still existed in the world.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then also them saying goodbye. Oh, I couldn't handle it. It just, oh my gosh. It was my heart couldn't take it.
For real.
This cracks me up, Karen.
Same. I was like, where's their wool mitten somewhere?
That's so funny. Oh, yeah.
Because they wore mittens around. I was same. You were not alone. I was flipping through looking for something, and I found a quote that I want to mention really quick. It says, "The connections that bind us are astounding, as I've noted. The invisible threads weave in and around us and tug at us in places and at times that we may not ever see, or that only make sense over time. This is what I have found." I love that.
So good.
Where was that?
It was the first paragraph of the last section 11.
Yeah, this is cool. That at the end, it was kind of full circle. Silas was finally able to do something for Mittenwool and get back to him, which was a really beautiful aspect of the resolution of the story.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah.
Silas's
this also, I think that paragraph that you just read, Amanda, speaks to the driving force of the mother again too, because he's talking about how the invisible, his mother was the invisible thread.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, in that same page how they're talking about Edgar Allan Poe books. That's what they're reading. Edgar Allan Poe. I'm like,
the invisible threads weave in and around us and tug at us in places and times we may not ever see, or only make sense over time, which is why we only see how integral the mother was, even though she was the invisible thread throughout the book. Yeah.
Kelly, I just want to say I'm glad you're the odd one out. It's totally fine. I love it. Because we're not all going to love all the same things, and we can all still be friends and have respectful
I'll
conversations.
still be your friend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you rolled your eyes. That's fabulous. Come on. That's funny.
Kelly, did that make you not like, because so like I didn't really care about care one way or another about the explanation for why he was called Mittenwool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if that made you like him and his story less, because the fact that he was called Mittenwool, other than like it, like he couldn't remember, okay, so how do I word this? He couldn't remember his own name, so Mittenwool was like a substitute name. It was like the one sort of thing that he remembered. And what am I trying to say? I completely lost my train of thought. I'm going to stop. But like his story as a whole, like even if I did, like I didn't roll my eyes, I liked it. But even if I didn't like that, I would still like his story even up until the end because of his connection with Silas and their saying goodbye, et cetera, et cetera.
LaRosa felt the same way, that the explanation of his name was underwhelming. But yet it didn't impact her love for Mittenwool. It was just a little bit of a stretch.
I feel like this was one of the things that the author found and she thought it was really cool and she wanted to work it into the story. Because it could have been anything, right? That was the carrier for his father's like secret message to like help him find the fortune, you know, whatever. It could have been anything. I feel like this was like just something that she was like, that's really cool, and threw it in.
Curious about this. Does anyone have kids who read the book as well? Did they enjoy it? How actual middle graders? And then you have some.
I feel like a lot of this would go right over my kid's head, to be completely honest. But I also feel that way about The Girl Who Drank the Moon. Like, I do not understand how a kid that was actual middle grade age would like that book at all. Like, I just felt like it was way over a middle grader's head. But I know there are middle graders out there that love it. So I feel that deep in my bones, Tia. I kind of feel the same way with this, that it's very, I don't know, just, yeah.
See, and so I'm not a middle grade reader. I don't even really have kids yet who are middle grade reading age. Fox almost, but not quite. But I was always someone who read up. Always. Mm-hmm. Always someone who read up. So, and I enjoyed books that stretched me. And so like I love middle grade books that don't talk down to middle grade readers. Mm-hmm. That in fact I love books that expect more of middle grade readers, that may not have all the words that middle grade readers know, and maybe even force middle grade readers to pick up a dictionary and do a little extra reading. I remember going to my mom, I'd be reading or I'd come across a word and I'd say, Mama, what does this mean? All the time. And my mom would say, look it up in the dictionary. Mm-hmm. She would expect me to go over to the dictionary and look it up and read the definition. And that is what I will expect from my kids too. And so, yeah, I don't have a middle grade reader, but I think, but knowing the kind of middle grade reader that I was, that's exactly right. Also, Sarah, to me, I feel like the best books exist on two levels. So like the best middle grade books, and we've talked about this a lot before, the best middle grade books.
True. I was reading mysteries when I was a middle grader too. It's so funny.
Yeah. But the best middle grade books exist on two levels, sort of like a Pixar movie, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's enough there for a middle grade reader to like and enjoy, even if they don't understand everything or there are parts of the book that go a little over their heads. And then an adult reads it and they might get more, like they might get some of that subtext and they might understand a little bit more, and they also enjoy it. So I think the best middle grade novels are the ones that exist on 2 levels. And like, that's one of the reasons I loved The Girl Who Drank the Moon and also loved Pony, because it doesn't talk down to middle graders.
This is hilarious because this is true. Now they just asked Alexa.
Now they just ask Alexa. That's cheating.
It's so true, though. I love it. Well, we're gonna soon wrap up, but I have a couple of things here. Do you guys think the sheriff and the deputy knew that the dad was Macboat once they got?
I wondered that too.
I wonder if there were wanted posters. I mean, he was a famous counterfeiter. Maybe. There would have been wanted posters at the time. They might have known. They knew he was. I mean, at that point, they knew he was going to die anyway, so there was no point in.
Yeah.
That was the first moment that I was like, "Oh, beauty man," when he gave Silas a hug when at his dad's side. I thought that was sweet.
Amy, that was C.S. Lewis.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's about like knowing your kids, right?
Right.
There are a couple creepy scenes, and it does get pretty gory for sure.
Absolutely, I do think it. Like everything.
It's not going to be for every kid.
Every kid is different. Every kid has a different tolerance level for different and parents know their kids best. So I'm not suggesting that this is a book for every, because I don't think there's any book that's probably right for every child.
Kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what's everybody's star rating? What is your star rating? Oh, and this is the last question I forgot that I was going to come back to.
Yeah. Let's talk about that real quick, and then we'll talk about star rating.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to hide it.
I didn't mind it because I feel like it propels the book forward quicker.
Absolutely. So there was 11 chapters, and then within each chapter there were 5 shorter chapters.
Yeah.
And I loved that.
I did too.
Felt like just one more. Let me just read one more.
Yeah, because the mini chat, I liked how you kind of described it. Was it in your vlog, Krista, where you said it's almost like yes, there were 11 chapters, but it almost felt like there were 11 parts, and then within each part there were smaller chapters.
Yeah.
So those mini chapters, I think made made the book more propulsive.
Yeah, for sure. I think. We didn't talk about it. It was talked about in the comments, but I talked about it in my blog. The ending being dragged out a little bit.
Yeah, it did drag. I feel like the beginning and the end were both really slow. Like the pacing was a little off for me.
Oh, see, that didn't bother me either. I loved the pacing. I mean, yes, I do think that their pacing wasn't always consistent, but I didn't mind it. I really liked that the beginning and the end were a little bit slower. I really liked that the end slowed down and we got to see. I feel like I needed that time with him and the sheriff and the sheriff's wife, and then also the ending with him and Mitten. I needed that moment with him and Mitten Wool. Yeah. Like that, I really needed that. So if they had been fast at the end, I think that would have ruined the book for me.
Yeah, I didn't dislike any of the things we learned at the end of it. It just felt like we were ramping up this intense shootout, and all of this stuff is happening all at once. And then it was like, boom, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. Like there was no like coming down off the mountain. We just like jumped off a cliff, and now we're getting the epilogue. You know what I mean? Like it. But if I did half stars, it for me would be a 4.5. But I don't do half stars, so I first put it at a 4, and then I'm like, I'm just gonna put it at a 5. Why do I just want authors to have more? Like, why do I feel like I need to be stingy with my 5 stars? I don't, so I'm not going to be. So I'm giving it 5 stars.
So I think this is really funny because when I was reading the book, I got to that scene last night, like the culmination scene last night, right before I was going to sleep. So I was like kind of falling asleep during that scene. So even though maybe that's why the pacing didn't have a problem with the pacing as much. Because I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta keep my eyes open. Oh no, pause dead. And I was like falling asleep. So I feel like it wasn't feeling super fast. Then I didn't get that big letdown because I didn't keep reading. Like I finished that chapter and then I fell asleep.
Yeah. And I don't have problems with everything being wrapped up in a Pretty Red Bow. This is a middle grade. Like that I feel like is I might expect.
And it wasn't wrapped up in a Pretty Red Bow. His dad dies.
No, I know, but like all the
but everything could be tied up. Yeah, no.
Like the sheriff's wife having a connection to the mom.
The convenient ending.
Right, like all of those things.
Yeah, I get what you're saying now.
Like I'm totally cool with that in a middle grade. Like I might not be as cool with it if I was reading.
I don't know. See, because it's a tidy ending, but it's not a happy ending. It was a very bittersweet ending. Yeah. Very bittersweet. Because he also doesn't stay with, like, Mittenwool leaves. Like he says goodbye to Mittenwool. That's like, it's sweet because like Mittenwool feels ready to move on, right? Yeah. But like it's also so tender. I like when things wrap up. I don't mind things that end like this, where it ends in stages. That's how Lord of the Rings is too. And I love that story. And there's so many endings to it. Like that movie had 5 endings and I don't care. I love them all. And that's kind of how I felt here too. Like I needed those endings. I wanted to see completion. I don't like in books, and maybe this is my Enneagram 9-ness, but if things don't have an end, then I feel turmoil in my soul.
100%.
And I don't like that.
This is why I never read Wives and Daughters for so long, because she died before it ended. And I was like, what? I can't read that.
Yeah.
Totally different book. So Katie, I'm assuming you're a 5.
I'm 5. Yeah, for sure 5. Like Amanda, this is one of my favorites that I've read this year.
Star. I'm curious what you're going to rate it.
4. I gave it 4.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. I thought and the writing was so good.
Yeah.
Like the writing was so good.
Yeah.
It did for me. Like I tried reading it a couple months ago. Like before we even picked it for a middle grade March book. I had started reading it and I got about a third of the way in and I was about to DNF it. Like I was bored. And that's why I said like the pacing was off, because once you get to where they jump the gorge or whatever,
it's like
once that hit, the pace picks up and it's fantastic and I loved it. And I didn't mind, the ending dragged quite a bit, but I didn't mind it because I felt like it was happy and things were happening. Whereas like the beginning of it was just like, oh my goodness, it was so slow. Like I need something going. And so for me, there were just a few things here and there that it was not 5 stars for me, but I did enjoy it. So yeah, 4 for me.
Yay. I know you guys already all said your ratings back a ways ago. I'm so glad that we finally have a book that is, for the most part, well loved.
A positive experience.
We were due this year for a good one.
Yeah, we were due.
It's a good one.
And that's okay if it wasn't the book for you. Like,
I think it was definitely different for most people. And I think that it's great that we picked it because it was very different.
So different.
And I think it stretched a lot of people.
Based on this cover alone, honestly, I might have only picked it up because of the author. Yeah. I never would have seen this book and said, oh, that's a book I need to read.
Never. Really?
No.
Yeah.
I love this cover.
Now that I've read it, I like it.
Katie just loves everything about this book that we don't like. We say any negative thing. What? No!
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I love that thing. That part. That sentence.
Yeah.
No.
I like it now that I've read it. But I never would have, like, it never would have made me do a second glance at a shelf. Like, I never would have said, oh, let me see what that's about. Never.
I'm the same as you.
So I'm glad. But then once I started hearing people talk about it and how.
No, I like the cover. I will say, I don't think it's drab. I really love the cover, but it doesn't look like a book that's going to be an Amanda book. You know what I mean?
I'm not a horse person. I'm actually very allergic to horses.
You're allergic to horses?
Very.
I haven't found someone who's allergic to horses.
And I never was a horse girl. Like growing up, I didn't
Yeah.
care about the horse books. So the horse being on the cover, like I get it and I like it now, but it wouldn't have been a draw. It wasn't a draw.
That's interesting. Like I'm not sure I would have seen this pony and said, "Oh, that's it," or I'm not sure I would have seen the book and said, "Oh, that's a Katie book." But I love the cover because I find it, I also don't find it drab. I think it's arresting. Like I think like this bald-faced pony is very like it just is arresting. Like it's sort of an astonishing picture. And I love the font. I just think it's a really interesting cover.
I love most people.
I love that.
Definitely would not have been a cover by. The cover can be a little bit creepy.
Yeah. Well, especially once you know it's a ghost story.
Definitely thought it was going to be more of a horse story. Did not request it on NetGalley because it looks strange.
It was strange.
Never have read this.
That was accurate.
Read. That's funny. Oh, see, it called me across the bookstore. See, everybody's so different. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I love that people read it despite the fact that they weren't necessarily drawn to it, or the people that read it that said, yeah, I would have never picked this up, that you read it anyway, and that you were willing to stretch yourself a little bit and to experience something different. And whether it worked for you or not, like it's all part of growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a reader. And I love that.
I love it.
Denise, we had not read it before, so I don't know.
We hadn't read it.
We went in blind.
Yeah, we went in like generally I don't think we've ever read the group read before. So we don't pick it based on, whether we think it's going to be something that everyone loves.
No.
I mean, I think we hoped that people would like this one because we'd heard lots of good things.
Yeah.
But that's bit us in the butt before, so.
It has. Yes, it has.
Although when we say that, we're not talking about the girl who drank the moon, Amanda. That was a good one for us.
No, I'm talking about the boy one.
Oh,
that was
boy or whatever it was.
I don't know which was worse, that one or the one we chose for last year.
Well, last year I felt like at least provided good discussion.
It did.
I feel like the other one was just like everybody was like,
yeah.
Last year, at least some of the people liked it.
Yes, a lot of people did actually.
A lot of people liked it, and it provided for really interesting.
It was great discussion. It just, I just didn't love it.
Karen, I should go to the library and bookstore and put a sticky note on all the books that says, "This is not a horse book." It's better than a horse book.
I love it.
It's not a horse book.
I love it.
Oh,
friends, I appreciate you guys all so much. And we all are. We're so thankful that you join us this year and every year for Middle Grade March. Yeah. I know some of you, it's your first time. I love hearing. I mean, we have a friend, Amanda and I, who never reads middle grade and picked one up this month because of Middle Grade March.
And then she ended up reading two, and she's going to read a third one. And she has completely fallen in love with middle grade. And she's like, I didn't know middle grade could be good.
That's amazing. Who is it? Maybe tell me later.
Okay. But we know for some of you go whole hog and read a ton, and for some of you like, okay, I'll try some middle grade.
I'll try one and see.
And open the door a little bit. We are so thankful for that because that's what we're here for. That's the point. We just want to enjoy some of these amazing books. We want you to enjoy some of these books. So thanks for riding along with us, and I love hearing that you guys enjoyed the prompts this year. We always have fun picking prompts every year, and we love that you
have any ideas for prompts. Hit us up.
There's some good ideas in the Discord. The Discord exists all year long, so I don't close the Discord. So maybe I'll grab the link for it real quick, just because it's always there. So if you read a good middle grade, and you're like, hey, I want to talk about this with somebody.
Sorry, Book Talks with Mrs. Thomas. She goes, I did that before. I put a sticky note on it and returned it to the library because the book was that bad.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, my goodness, I love it. Ooh.
I do. Okay. There you go.
Aw, Kimberly.
There's the link to the Discord if you haven't already joined it, but that's a nice place to talk about middle grade all year long if you're interested in doing that. I read a book mentioned in Ban This Book. That's funny.
What?
One of the prompts for next year would be to read a book mentioned in Ban This Book.
Oh, yeah. Or just read a banned book.
That's a good prompt.
That is a good prompt. I like that prompt.
And we want to know if you read middle grade later in the year and you find something fabulous, please share with us. We want to know.
Please tag, if you post it, tag us.
Yes.
Tag the Middle Grade March account.
Really the most fun reading month of my year is March.
Oh, for sure.
Same. Hands
down. No matter how many I get done, I always just love it.
Did you guys say what your favorite book of the month was?
No, we haven't.
Melinda, it got here. Melinda sent me Jefferson's Son.
Aww. You have to read it.
It was the best book,
and
mail, Melinda, and your sweet note too. Oh my goodness, it was so wonderful. Thank you.
I want you to read it, and then I want you to update me as you're reading it.
I will.
Whenever you're ready to read it, message me, and I'll buddy read it with you because I haven't read it yet.
I'll reread it. I'll buddy read it with you too.
Okay, let's do it. But just I have to finish 8th Life, and then we.
Oh yeah, not
next year. Next year? Is that what we're saying?
No, we can read it before then.
Okay, so my favorite probably still is All 13. With a close second being The Shape of Thunder.
Oh gosh, I don't think I can choose between A Place to Hang the Moon and Pony. I loved them both. I mean, I definitely had more of an emotional reaction to Pony, so maybe that's what I should say.
Yeah.
But
nice. The Girl Who Drank the Moon. Kelly, sorry, Amanda, but it was so good. It was so good, Kelly. You're right. You are right. Amanda's wrong.
I also know Molly read the Girl Who Drank the Moon and loved it so much. She's like, I can't believe I didn't read it when you guys had it as your middle grade
reader. Kelly and I are just going to live on our own little island and not like that book, and it's going to be fun.
Oh yes, Starfish was so good.
Oh, I loved that book so much. Oh my goodness. I about started crying. You know what? My favorite might be The Parker Inheritance.
Nice.
I really liked that book.
All 13.
Oh, Rose City Stitcher. I love that so much.
Sweep. Oh, Sweep is such a good
one. I love that you read that because it's just like one of those under the radar nobody's ever heard of books. And I love that you loved it. I love that book too.
Dark Waters, another Sweep. Pony and a Place to Belong. Starfish and Sweep. Amanda and I will live in our own world.
Just live on our own little island.
All 13.
And just live blocking horse blinders on.
I love it.
Although I am willing to give her new book a shot.
The War That Saved My Life. Oh, you guys have read some good books this month.
Oh, Counting by Sevens.
Sevens was fabulous too. I did a lot of good ones. But
I had a lot of 4 and 5 star books. A lot.
I think that's it. I have to do the winner from last week's Instagram challenge. I didn't do that yesterday or Monday. So we need to choose that. But other than that, I think everything else is wrapped up. So thank you all. Oh, there's Coyote Sunrise, Jefferson's Sons, Wish in the Dark, Echo, Shape of Thunder. Vanderbeekers, yes. I love it. So thank you all.
I love that book too. Sorry, all these books that are my favorites that everybody's reading. I love them so much.
It's fabulous. I'm so glad you guys all had a really good reading month.
Me too.
Aww.
It makes my heart very happy.
Yes.
And if you missed out on merch, there's 24 hours. 26.
It closes tomorrow night.
25 and a half hours. and then it's closing. So if you need a shirt that says Middle Grade March, looks like this. Amanda's got hers on. Katie's got her sweatshirt on, I think. Yep. Or a mug. I should have brought my mug in here and used that tonight. But yes, thank you guys all so much. We love you, and we will be chatting with you off and on other places, on our channels, on the Instagram, on the Discord, all the jazz. But until next March.
Yay.
Until next March.
Pretty middle grade. Bye, everyone.
Bye.